الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Going on to the fourth approach for performance appraisal, the results approach. It focuses on managing the objective and measurable results of a job or work group. Management team defines organizational strategy as a starting point based on the goals that are defined and cascaded, then translated into specific objectives, where the system success depends on management commitment. The main point is that the result approach effectively links employees' performance with organization strategy. It has two techniques: management by objectives, MBO, where top management passes down the company's strategic goals to the next layer of management, and these managers define the goal they must achieve for each position or job for each employee. The second technique is the productivity measurement and evaluation technique or system, where its goal is to motivate the employees to upgrade or to get higher levels of productivity. Main components, or what is management by objective? It's a goal-directed and results-oriented approach to perform appraisal in which employees and their managers or supervisors set goals together, underline together. So the goals must be set by an agreement between each employee and his direct manager or supervisor together for the upcoming evaluation period and for an explicit time period. What are the common components of the management by objective systems? They require specific objective goals. Goals are set with managers and employees' participation. Managers provide objective feedback, and this through the rating period to monitor progress towards goals. So, starts with specific goals, then it has some participation between the employee and the manager. Then, while performing the job or the activities, the employee receives some feedback from the manager to monitor progress towards achieving the goal. What is an objective? Objective describes 3 points. Firstly, conditions that will exist when the desired outcome has been established. So firstly, the conditions. Number 2, the time frame during which the outcome is to be completed. And thirdly, the resources that the organization is willing to commit. So an objective means describing the 3 points: conditions, time frame, and resources. Good objectives, as we know, must be SMART. S stands for specific, M measurable, A aligned with the organizational units or the unit's goals or organizational goals. R stands for realistic and results oriented, and T time dimension. Coming to standard, what do we mean to standard? Based on which we are going to measure the results or the performance. Standards are established criteria used by an organization to objectively measure the performance of employees. Standards refer to ongoing performance criteria that must be met consistently. Performance standards are well-written performance standards that must be clearly defined, reliable, and valid. Clearly defined performance standards are standards that congruent with organizations' strategies, goals, and objectives. They must also satisfy the following criteria: SMART, specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and productivity measurement systems aims to motivate employees, as we mentioned, to achieve higher levels of production or productivity. It has measurement and feedback mechanisms. It is effective increasing or improving productivity. The last approach, or the fifth one, is the quality approach that focuses on the level of quality of the results to be achieved. A performance management system designed with a strong quality orientation can be expected to do what? Emphasize the assessment of both person and system factors in the measurement system, emphasizing the managers and employees working together to solve any problems related to performance, involving both internal and external customers in setting standards and in measuring performance. So this means that we know the external customer and the internal employee, so they participate in setting the standards and they participate also in measuring performance using multiple sources to evaluate person and system factors, which mean the sources of data that will be used in assessing the performance must come from different sources who should assess performance or sources for performance information, starting with the superior only, or the supervisor or the direct manager only, or beside the manager or supervisor, the subordinate himself, the employee himself, adding to this his or her peers or co-workers or colleagues, customers, others, subordinates if he is a manager, all other stakeholders, suppliers, customers, consumers, and so on. What are the later errors in performance management? This topic has been studied in the HR course in the second grade, but we have to go through it. Similar to me. What does it mean, similar to me? It's some kind of biasness by the supervisor or the boss in assessing performance of his subordinate. So he is biased to those employees similar to him in any aspect. So they have or he gives them higher grade or better grade than other employees. Contrast, biased towards the contrast, those employees having different aspects than his aspects. Distributional errors, the grades can take the form of maybe this normal distribution curve, having some percentage for the highest grade, the excellent grade, and some percentage for the lowest grades. And every time, regardless of the good performers or bad performance, he has to follow the same distribution curve. Halo and horns, which means if the employee has some positive aspect, this positive aspect can reflect or can has some impact on evaluating the other aspects. So if he is admiring, the manager is admiring some aspect in his subordinate, this can make him recognize every weak aspect as being good. The horns is the opposite. If the employee has negative aspect, this can have some reflect on the general assessment of his performance. Recency means the manager will be affected by the most recent event or behavior done by the employee, whatever the most recent event, being good behavior or bad behavior. Stereotypes, which means having an average grading for all employees, regardless of the differences among them. Selective perception means being selective in recognizing some aspects regardless of the others. All are different. Biasness, being biased toward any other relationship, informal relationship, being graduated from the same university or coming from the same village or so on, having the same religion. When to assess the timing, probation period, it may, or the most common is the annual or anniversary date or assigned date or setting date for all evaluations. Semi-annual for demand or for cause or ongoing process or only needed. How to communicate the performance management information. It may be orally on or in writing, may be formally or informally. It may be public or private or moderated. Integration with other human resources and development activities. Performance management provides information for the following sub-functions of HR: development of training to meet organizational needs, workforce planning, recruitment and hiring decisions, development of compensation systems, career and succession planning. You can find what kind of data or information required by each sub-function of those from the performance information. What are the effective characteristics for managing performance? Know your organization's performance cycle, demonstrate effective communication skills, be able to explore causes of performance problems, ability to develop action plans, and empower employee to be solution oriented, be objective and focus attention towards the problems, be able to provide feedback. These are the main characteristics that must exist for having effective or successful performance management system. It's a planned process whose 5 primary elements are, as a general conclusion for what we have discussed earlier: agreement, measurement, feedback, positive reinforcement or reward system, and communication dialogue. Performance is not just a top-down process in which managers tell their subordinates what they think about them, setting objectives, and institute performance improvement plans. It is not just that. It's not something that is done to people, but performance management should be something that is done for people and in partnership. Them is done with them, not for them. Performance management is a continuous and flexible process that involves managers and those whom they manage acting as partners within a framework that sets out how they can best work together to achieve the organizational objectives or the required results. It's based on the principle of management by contract and agreement rather than management by command. It relies on consensus and cooperation rather than control. It focuses on future performance planning and improvement and personnel development rather than on retrospective performance appraisal. Performance measures. Performance is measured at organizational level or at individual level as described below. Individual performance can be measured by reference to KPIs or key performance indicators. KPIs define the results or outcomes that are identified as being crucial or important to the achievement of high performance. Concept, the KPIs. Measuring performance is relatively easy for those who are responsible for achieving quantified targets, such as sales representatives. They have to achieve some level of sales amount or sales quantity. It's more difficult in the case of knowledge workers, such as scientists, but this difficulty is alleviated if a distinction is made between the two forms of outputs and outcomes. What is the difference between both of them? An output is a result that can be measured in a quantified format, while an outcome is a visible effect that is the result of effort but cannot necessarily be measured in quantitative terms. Classification of output and outcome measures. Output measures such as examples including financial measures, income, shareholder value, added value, rates of return, cost, and so on. Units produced or processed, level of take-up of a service, sales, new accounts, time measurements, speed of response or turnaround achievement compared with timetables, amount of backlogs, time to market, delivery times, and so on. The outcomes measures including attainment. These are not tangible. Attainment of a standard such as level of quality or level of service, etc. Changes in behavior. It's something that can be felt, observed, but not measured in a quantified term. Completion of work or project in time, acquisition and effective use of additional knowledge and skills, reaction or judgment by others, colleagues, internal